Help you see some of the techniques that I use for back massages. With this particular thing, there's not the seriousness of contraindications as there can be with the lymphatic work, so you just don't want to work over any bruises. You don't want to work over any, of course, broken bones or any kind of bad, terrible sores on the skin. But all that, you know, is pretty reasonable. You can figure that one out pretty quickly and easy. So this is just applying the oil, just an application of the oil. And I would like to tell you not to use canola oil if possible. It's better to use an olive oil or a blend of an oil, coconut oil. It's hard, but if you can blend it in a certain way, it won't get quite as thick. Olive oil, almond oil. There's many good oils, but you don't want any of the genetically produced oils, and you don't want any of the polyunsaturated oils. It's better to get the nice oils. There's some olive oil that I can get at the farmer's market here in Austin that's from Spain, and it's produced a little differently, and it has antioxidants in it, so that's a good oil to use on the skin. So what I'm doing here is I'm starting with my thumbs and just opening things up, following the trapezius, or the muscles that just attach up into the neck at the head, right up here, and working down. Do not push too hard on the neck, and don't go on top of the vertebrae. Sometimes you'll feel a little crunching. That's referred to oftentimes as crepitus, or you might feel bumping and popping. A lot of that is just tight muscles, tension in a muscle. Maybe there's some toxin that's trapped in the muscle. These shoulders they do a lot of work, and they also hold a lot of tension. So I like to spend time in that shoulder area and along down here through the shoulder blade as well, opening all of this up as we go. And then we can come down the spine. I like to work down this long muscle of the back. It supports our vertebrae, along with help from the front muscles, the stomach, abdomen area. Starting up in here. When you do massage, it's nice to go from origin to insertion, or in other words, both points of muscle attachment, if it's possible, to palpate into it. It just feels like it's more complete to do that than to just kind of work the belly of the muscle and leave the ends hanging there like nobody cares about them. So do try to be thorough in your work, especially if you're doing it in cameras. And around the shoulder blade and on top of the shoulder blade. And basically I just feel for tight areas or areas that don't feel right, and then I focus in and work on it a little bit more. Okay, and moving to the side, I'm working in the trapezius muscle primarily. So I'm starting at the neck and pulling that down, just finding that kind of that line of the muscle. It's a very good idea to look at an anatomy book and just get an idea what you're looking at and where it is on the body. It'll give you an image so that when you do get your hands on somebody, you can be a little more aware of what's there and how the muscle fibers go, what their direction is. It's nice to follow that direction. And then there's sometimes like here where you're going more across some of the fibers, so that's more of a cross fiber friction type of a thing. And sometimes you want to do that, but you're going to have to know how the muscle runs and where the fibers go and where they attach. So having an anatomy book or something like that close by until you get an idea in your head is very helpful. Then I move over and go up. That very same muscle that I just pulled down, I just go the other direction with it. And here, the pressure that I use, I know that there have been some deep tissue people that may have been watching the video that have made comments that this is just light work. Well, there's the fluffy work that people aren't doing anything, that they're just kind of tickling the top of the skin. And then there's intentional, subtle anatomy work or membrane where you're finding the fascial structures and all of that. And that is much more delicate work. It's light, but it's not just finger moving around the skin of the body. It's very intentional. There's focus, there's energy transfer going on, there's direction of energy going into the body. So there's a lot of things that are going on. So in some ways, soft tissue or deep tissue work is not always going to give you the results, just like sometimes the directional and intentional lighter work isn't going to give you all the results. So it's good to have both modalities. So actually the lighter work is harder to do because it takes more concentration. It's much easier to just push hard and go with force than it is to pay attention to what's going on and how it's wound up, how it needs to unwind, and being able to just follow the body with that. The thing about the way we're programmed to see things or to practice things is that the therapist or whoever will figure out what's wrong and then try to move the body the way they think it should move. And in subtle work that's intentional, you just find what's going on with the body and you allow it to lead you and show you where it needs to go. And that is how you get much more rich results and results that are more permanent. So there's a direct respect for the body doing it in another way. And I've gotten to the point where I never direct the body where it has to go. I let it direct me. So we opened up, we massaged down in that hip area where the hip is, the muscles are attaching into the hip crest, the bone, the backside of the hip, and then making long moves with the thumb iron into the erector spinae muscle in 3 different places, one close to the spine, one close to the vertebrae, one right in the middle of the belly of the muscle, and then one on the edge. And then doing a cross fiber work. I dig my finger, and I don't really dig it down, but I do get inside of where the spine and the muscle attaches, and I go into that with a little bit deeper work, but not a lot of pressure, and just stretch and pull that muscle over so that you can get a little deeper that way without force. And I've had people who have made the comment that it feels like I'm able to move muscles aside and actually get underneath them. And I guess that's a good description, although they are attached, and there's some muscles you just can't palpate because of the depth of them. Unless you take the energy into there and direct the energy, and then you can feel pretty much what's going on and the muscles at a deeper level. And then sliding the fingers up and just finishing it off that way. Okay, then we go to the other side and repeat it. Repeating this, so we're going to pull it down here. And I have to be in myself a little bit different position than I would be because I don't want to block the camera too much so you can see what's going on. And here we're stretching it down along the way that the trapezius fibers run. There's some rhomboids underneath there. And scapula, just checking all that. It feels pretty good. There's no real reason to stay there. Now here, along this edge of the scapula, there's a lot more tension. And that would make sense. Okay, and then pushing it back up. And usually I have both hands in this, but I'm hoping I'm staying out of the way. Okay. This is tight, and I have a feeling it's tight because of a lot of playing of a guitar over at the Kerrville Folk Fest. And then we're gonna run down. So after you get good at this and you know what you're feeling in the muscles, you can tell when people have had different activity or they've been doing something differently because you can feel it in the muscle. There's really very little that can be hidden from a good set of hands that can pick that stuff up. And then we go riding up right alongside the vertebrae. You can actually feel the little edges of them as you're gliding your thumbs up. And then in the belly of it. And to the edge. You'll want to take a look at that muscle because it does spread out at different points and it has different texture coming up. And then we go back down and we do that pull where you get yourself so the fingers can go a little bit underneath, right at the attachment. It's a lot of strain that goes on at attachment points. Back down. Okay, and then I ride back up. Then to continue with spine work is catching on both sides of the vertebrae and doing a vibration. It's just a back and forth with a little bit of kind of hopping up and down. And it's on, your fingers are one finger's on either side of the spine. And then bringing it back up. Now here, it's an interesting little technique because you're getting into that muscle, but you're also spreading it open. So you're getting down a little bit deeper into it, but there's not a lot of pressure because by now the muscles are soft enough that they're opening without a lot of force at all. They're just opening on their own. And you ride that up, stretching it open a little bit more. It takes a little bit of practice because your thumbs are going up and out at the same time. And then we'll just take it, fingers each side of the vertebrae, don't go on it. Just go in between. It's a nice little thing to do for the vertebrae. They don't usually get this kind of attention, so they're happy. And then just a brushing to spread open the muscles